Hello everybody, my name is Will, I need a nap, and welcome back to Flyout Community Creations, episode, I think, 19, maybe. I don't know, I'll probably get it right by the time that this goes up, but no guarantee, I've got it wrong before. This is the F98C dagger, designed by Waffled Vixen in my Discord, which is linked in the description below. Also, by the way, you should subscribe to the video. Not to the video, to my channel. You don't subscribe to videos, though I guess if you can find a way to do that, you can do that as well. Why not? It's all good for engagement, I'm sure. This is an jet of some variety. It's a two-seater, it's quite large, and I'm assuming it is an interceptor. We've got 4 missiles on the bottom here. It's obviously of the 507th Intelligence Squadron, and look, the pilot's got a modelled helmet. Why? I don't know, but it's cool. That said, shall we take this out for a little test fly? Here we are on the runway, and as you can see, gee, that is very bright. Can I turn that down? I thought L might do it, but no, it's just made it even brighter. We're just going to have to go with that. We have a couple of controls. As you can see, the cockpit can open and close on K. If I hit N, that will open the glass on the pilot's helmet. So there you go. I mean, that is possibly the most overkill control that we've seen in a little while. That they didn't need to do that, but there you go, it's there. Why not? We have a ladder as well. I don't think I can control that. I imagine that will just happen automatically, and if it doesn't, we'll just have a ladder out, because I don't know. Let's go and try and take off in this thing here. We should be okay. I don't see why. I should probably close the canopy, actually, shouldn't I? And once I get in the air, this thing does have a rather nicely detailed interior, which I will show to you, but not yet. There you go, the ladder has in fact disappeared. That's always good. You don't want to be flying around with one of those just sticking out. Also, we always seem to be getting some aerodynamic effects from the undercarriage, which is odd. It looks like we've got RCS kicking in. But yeah, this is obviously a delta-winged aircraft, kind of along the lines of the Eurofighter Typhoon. We've got some canards up at the front, which are very, very swept back, along with the main wing, which isn't something you see particularly often. Let us quickly hop inside this thing. Those are none of the correct controls. There we go. And once we have clipped through the pilot's helmet, oh, we can see inside that tube. You can see we have a rather nice little heads-up display. We've got, like, presumably some kind of ground reading screen, the status of your aircraft, a little radar screen, something else that looks like sight or whatever. That looks like maybe missile and weapons status and flaps and stuff. I don't really know. This presumably all does something in real life, but here in Flyout, it doesn't seem to be doing anything, so I think it is just for show, which is fine. It's more effort than I've ever put in. Look at that aerodynamic effect coming out of the canopy. What is going on there? That is all weird. I'm getting my words horrendously wrong today already. I really should have had that nap before I started recording, because clearly I'm too tired for this, but we're soldiering on anyway. Mach 2 at sea level is also not to be sniffed at, I can't lie, though it does look like we have 50 seconds of fuel left, so maybe I should get on with it a little bit. Spawn in a target drone, and of course, they spawn going in the complete opposite direction, but that gives us a chance to show the maneuverability of this, which is pretty stellar to be entirely... Oh! Alright, this time we're scrambling. We got the afterburners on, taking off from the runway and just going for it. Flying very sensibly, as I'm sure you can see, and it's all fine. I'll give you that one. The second one may have been pilot error, just maybe. Ooh, look at those flares, though. Okay, this time we have a slightly better scramble, but that target drone is in the sun, which isn't going to be spectacular for the heat seeker. There goes the missile. There's a kill. Very nice. Okay. I assume the missile came off the rail and hit us because we were in a turn last time. That's the only thing I can really think of it being. To make up for my hubris, let's go for a gun kill as well. We do have a revolving 20 mil or something in here. It sounds like a 20. If I had to guess, we're going to absolutely overshoot. That was just nowhere near. Okay, take 2 on the attempt at a gun kill. Can we lead this properly without making an absolute fool of myself? Probably not, because I never can. It's just a constant curse of mine that nose of this thing doesn't quite want to stay steady. There we go. Okay, good enough. That'll do. Okay, nothing bad happened between the last clip and this one, and there's no infrared missiles in the field over there. Just don't worry about that. It's all good. We're going to lead for a nice landing after a successful mission with nothing going wrong. Let's give it a little bit of flappage and bring her in. We might want a little tiny touch of the air brakes here just to make sure that we're going slow enough. But to be entirely honest, we're just gaining a lot of altitude right now. We don't really want to be doing that. That is quite the rough landing. But it counts, and therefore, we're doing it. Use the gun. We'll slow down. War Thunder style. You know how it is. And eventually, we're going to draw to a stop. There we go. Stop the plane. That steered all kinds of weird, probably because I dipped a wheel in the grass, but there you go. Thank you very much for submitting this plane. It is very cool. Sorry that I'm so tired. Moving on. Next up, by Anakai in my Discord server, we have the Farin SV2i, which sounds very Scandinavian. And adding a little bit of credence to that is the Austaru, I think, the Old Norse religion. But sure, this is, as you can clearly see, some kind of propeller-driven, probably 1940s aircraft that looks like it was a World War II era passenger transporter. It might be a little bit newer, maybe 50s. But we got some radial engines here, and I think it looks pretty neat, if you ask me. Right, we're going to give this one an attempt at flying. Apparently it runs, quote, like an insult. So we'll see how my computer can handle this. Good news, everyone, by the way. I should be getting a new graphics card soon. So. Okay, I've had to turn the physics update rate a bit down, but I think this is roughly watchable. Here we go. I don't have any controls listed, so I'm just going to assume that it is standard controls, and we're going to go for it. Hopefully this isn't too loud. This is a very, very loud aircraft, is what I am currently hearing. And, okay, there's no interior, so I'm going to assume that the doors don't open to the back at the very least. There's probably an interior in the front here. It looks like there is, so we'll check that out once we're up in the air. Interestingly, we have a tail-dragging landing gear that seems to be retractable. Normally, if you have a tail dragger, it's just permanently fixed, so that's a little bit unusual. And here we are on the inside, and I can see where some of the lag is coming from. Goodness me, those are some high poly bits and pieces. We have endless amounts of switches and a couple of little fans up here for cooling the pilots down, and even more switches. I think these are even custom modeled like fabric seats, so yep, I can see where the frame rate issues come from. We even have a little pre-flight checklist, which is very nice. There is a lot of attention to detail on this. You can see that obviously the landing gear have slot nicely into these gaps that have been pre-made for them. We've got a little hoop thing, which I'm assuming is some kind of instrument. This is some form of light, I'm gonna guess. Oh, there we go. I hit L and it's turned on some blinking beacons. All of the different little strakes and the weathering going on. You can also see the engine has these little flaps sticking out for the cooling and the exhaust. Up here, we've got a couple of little aerodynamic vanes and a massive... It's either an aerial refueling probe or a very large pitot tube. I'm going to assume it's aerial refueling. And whatever this thing on top is, I'm presuming it's some kind of instrumentage again. Other than that... Obviously, it is just a passenger airliner, so there's not a huge amount to write home about in terms of features, but boy, is it pretty. Feels like every single time I say this, I say that a new genre of aircraft is my favorite, but I really do like, you know, four-engine passenger liners with propeller engines. They're just cool. I don't know. Jet airliners, I feel like I've seen them a lot of days of my life, you know, flying overhead. They're not that interesting to me, so I think that's why I'm so enamored to older, you know, propeller-driven designs. I want to fly in one day. I've never had a chance, so it would be kind of neat, even though I know it's louder and more uncomfortable and blah, 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 blah. I want to have a go on one. Is that so much to ask? It's not a particularly rapid flight, this thing. As you can see, we are trying to climb, but the climb rate is pretty weedy as things go. It seems a little bit on the underpowered side. That might be what they mean by flying like an insult, but that's kind of okay. We can let it off because it looks very cool. I really like the sunshades that you can like flip down up there, and the detail on these vents is, well, frankly unnecessary, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Whatever that is. Shall we try and land this thing? Because I don't know if my computer's cooler is going to survive much longer. I have massively overturned. Hopefully, I don't kill everybody on board. I'm sure we'll be fine. We can recover from this, but every time I get a little lag spike, it does try desperately to throw me into the floor. Here we are on a little landing approach here. We're going to pop out our landing gear again, which does feel a little bit on the weedy side, so I'm going to try and not slam her down if I can avoid it. Let's give her some flaps and a little bit more trim to make up for it. And maybe one more level of flaps. Oh, one more level of flaps was a mistake. That was a serious mistake. It's landing of some kind. Yes, that is a good landing. Perfect. Flawless. Oh, well, there you go. That's a perfectly safe landing. Once again, as always, in the, whatever this was called, in the SV2. There we go. That'll do. Thank you very much for submitting this design. Moving swiftly on. Next up, designed by Bubelacic, I don't know how to say that, is the FWTF60 Enter. This is a thing, and as you can see, Jimmy is just kind of sticking out of the bottom of it. Now, I think there's a couple of mods I don't have in here, so that's probably why, but it's fine. We'll just kind of assume that that doesn't matter and move swiftly on. I have got some instructions on how to fly this, so I will be attempting to follow those as best I can, because... what? So this is another one of those many, many projects designed in desperation by Germany at the end of World War II, or at least inspired by. I believe this is a fictional thing. I don't think it's real, but this one is meant to be from the actual 50s, so this is more Cold War era West Germany, which is a little bit more, I guess, likely that they would have had the materials to build this. I can't imagine this is a hugely efficient kind of aircraft. Basically, jet engines are pushing around these massive propellers at the bottom here, which is going to translate into a lot of thrust, in theory. However, I feel like you would just be better off putting jets on it. Regardless, we're going to try and take this thing off, which involves throttling up and yawing. And then eventually, once we get into the game will crash. Okay, I've turned my physics update up again to see if that will help. I'd really quite like to actually get this thing in the air and working without it breaking everything. I have not done a fantastic job of taking off, but it hasn't crashed my game, which is a good sign. Okay, we're going to hold your left for even longer this time, because I believe that might have been the problem. Let's keep going. Just keep going. Hold on. No. Okay. Your left. That's A, right? Come on, I can do this. I can do this. Hold that. Let's try closing those. And don't go out of control. Stay in control, please. Please, please. No. Okay. Not sure what to do now, to be entirely honest. I've kind of tried everything in terms of not having it crash and burn. but it just doesn't like doing anything in terms of having control. Maybe it's involved with a mod that's on this thing that I don't have. Potentially. Unfortunately, I don't see any mods listed on the submission. I've gone to the actual Flyout dev post where it was put, and I don't know which mod this is meant to have that I don't have. So, unfortunately, I don't think I can fly this one. But it is very, very cool, and you saw it take off, so you know that it can. It just doesn't stay in control for very long. I'm sure it's very good if it works. It's really cool. I really wish it would work. Thank you for the submission. Unfortunately, we're going to have to move on. Sorry. Next up, making my computer really think about loading this one in, we have the Stratus by Mad About Cars 318, which is definitely not Spitfire. It looks like if... Right, bear with me here. This is going to be a strange combination of aircraft. If a Hurricane with the wings are very Hurricane, and a Spitfire in the fuselage and the canopy, and a Boomerang in terms of how long the nose is, kind of all got together and produced whatever they could out of the spare parts. This is interesting. The nose is almost Junkers 87 kind of short, stubby little engine. I'm assuming it's a little, what is it, V10 engine in here? There's only, I mean, okay, it is a V12. There's only 5 cylinders aside, so I don't know where that 11th and 12th cylinder are coming out. Presumably they just share one of the exhausts. We have a couple of machine guns and 20 mils here. This looks very much like a Spitfire arrangement, and intakes in the wings, which is going to help quite a lot with the aerodynamics of this thing, I would assume. Shall we give it a fly? A 5-bladed propeller as well. That's an odd one. Okay, here we are on the runway, and I have read the actual blurb, which reads a lot like a Rex's Hangar script, but this is a 1,555 horsepower inverted V12, which is a lot of power, and it has 2 22mm cannons and 4 16mm machine guns. So that is some pretty significant power going into this thing. I mean, whoa. Careful there, sunshine. I am struggling to go in a straight line on the runway here. Please do something normally. Why did you do that? Why did you nose over? I don't know. That is one of the wings tip stalling. Oh, God. Oh, God. That's a takeoff of all time. I don't think anything's actually broken, so it's kind of actually okay. There we go. Up in the air we go. And, as you can see, it is pretty quick. That is a lot of acceleration. I mean, that is late war, definitely. Late war acceleration, to say the very least. I was expecting something which was quite slow, actually, when I saw the length of the nose of this thing. But that's a very, very high amount of power packed into a very, very small package, which is interesting. There does seem to be a turbocharger on the back of this, which might be helping a little bit in the power domain. And what does it sound like when we fire these guns? Very nice. They're rather slow firing, but that's probably because they're all rather high caliber. And I am feeling a lot of pull on this stick. You can really, really get some turning out of this. It's pulling about 10G, and then, as you can tell by the fact that it kind of gives up turning for a spot, I think there is some fly-by-wire that's just stopping you from killing yourself, because this feels very much like if you were to turn too hard, it would just fall straight out of the sky, which is not ideal, they say. But I just know this thing would absolutely slap in War Thunder Air RB. Pop this thing at 6.0. Oh, gonna absolutely cook. I tried to get a target drone, but I think it's just going to be a little bit too quick for this, because it is still, ultimately it's still got a propeller engine and a, propeller. So it's going to take a long time to get up to speed, if we can at all, which is kind of unlikely, to be entirely honest. But I really, really like this thing. Shall we have a look inside? And indeed, there is some form of a canopy. We've got some gas tanks of some variety down there. Little tail wheel lock. That looks like an emergency brake. Couple of dials. Here's your very Spitfire-esque, holoscopic gun sight. That might be a word. Do we have... Yeah, we have lights as well. That's just... Yeah, on the wings and on the tail. And that is pretty much it as far as I can read. I don't see any controls or anything like that. So I'm going to assume we've checked everything. And I'm going to bring it in for a landing, which I can't imagine is going to be too difficult. Here we go, leading for a landing, and I feel like I have a lot of control. I mean, we are still going 250 odd kilometers an hour, which is going to be way over the landing speed of this thing, but we got plenty of runway that we can lose a bit of that speed if we need to. Nice, gentle touchdown. Come on. Come on. There we go. Coax it down. That, whoa, that is a very, very aggressive set of brakes. I was not quite expecting the brakes to... What? Huh? Hello? I wasn't expecting the brakes to be quite that strong, I can't lie, but we managed to survive and land, which is rare, and apparently, you know, this guy he's doing his thing, so bless him. That was the Mac Aerospace Stratus. Thank you very much for your submission, and onto our final design for today. Last but not least today, designed by Ashen Imperium, we have a Hungarian vampire-looking thing. This is called the Mavag C1 Falcon. Now, Mavag, I believe, is a real company. I remember seeing that name around. I think they made a plane called the Hayar, which was based off the American P-36. Not P-36, that's a different thing. Either way, it was an American plane that I believe the Hayar was based off, and I think this company made that. Anyway, I don't believe this is a real aircraft, as you can tell, it's a little bit on the far-fetched side for actual World War II aircraft. This has a Contra, I'm going to assume, rotating pusher propeller, powered by a big old... That is a very, very large radial engine. That is 28 cylinders in 4 rows. That is significantly powerful, and I'm imagining going to drive this to quite a high speed. It carries 2 30mm and 4 15mm guns, with the provision of carrying some bombs, and apparently this is a real engine. It was a BMW 803 28-cylinder radial, which is a bomber engine, which was then put into this, I guess. So there you go. Powerful engine, but a real engine. It's going to be very torquey. I wouldn't be surprised if we have... Well, I guess we have contra-rotating props, so that doesn't really matter. Yeah, actually, this is suddenly starting to make sense why things were designed the way they were. Let's fly it! I got this one working. I've been fighting with this for like 10 minutes because it did not want to load. After re-downloading the file, it appears to be working. Okay, we finally have it on the runway. Shall we hop on inside? There's no interior. Okay, that was... the first time I remember to do it first thing, and it doesn't have an interior. Damn it. Right. Ignite the engine. Let's go. Whoa, that is loud. I mean... I shouldn't be surprised. This is a bomber engine in a fighter. It's going to be quite loud. And even though we have the contra-rotating propellers that should, in theory, cancel the torque, you saw it jump at the start there. There was a lot of torque going on in these engines. This engine. There's only one. There's also a lot of pulling to the left, which I didn't necessarily expect. You can see it's kind of rolling up onto its left wheel. Are these not contra-rotating? Whoa! No, it doesn't appear that they are. That is some serious torque. Okay, let's go. Let's see if we can manage to take this thing off. it seems that these aren't contra-rotating. These are just two propellers spinning in the same direction, which is unusual for this arrangement for the reasons that we are currently seeing. It really, really wanted to kill me as I was taking off last time. I can try mouse control, because then I can just give a little bit more of a gentle incline. There we go. That's playing ball a lot better. And this time, absolutely no lifting to the side. Maybe they are contra-rotating. I'm wondering if something about me stalling the engine and then having to turn it on again broke how the propellers were being calculated or how they work. I don't really know. But as you can see, custom landing gears, so these are nicely slotting away inside of the fuselage, and eventually these doors are going to close, and you can see that this goes halfway and then leaves a little gap where the wheel slots in very nicely, which is kind of cool. A lot of planes used to do that for like landing on the wheels if you have to have a wheels up landing, but this obviously isn't going to be doing that. I think that's just a simple fact of there's no room for the wheel to be fully enclosed inside of the boom there, because it is teeny tiny. It is not quite as quick as I was necessarily expecting it to be. Probably because this is a real engine and not like a massively overtuned engine, which I was somewhat expecting. When I saw the design, I thought this was going to be like fantasy kind of alt history where they'd gone a few more years and prop engines had become super, super powerful. And so therefore we'd be getting like, 600, 700 kilometers out of this thing. But doesn't look like we will be. This looks a little bit more feasible in the sense that I think this would probably top out at around about the 550 to 600 kilometer an hour top speed, which is definitely not bad, don't get me wrong, but I was somewhat expecting us to be breaking like ludicrous speeds in a in a propeller aircraft. Got a couple of navigational lights on this thing, which is always good. Some kind of pitot tube on the left wing. A serious amount of firepower. That is a good noise coming from those guns. And I'm going to imagine quite... Oh no, not as big as I was expecting actually from the smoke clouds on the ground. You can kind of tell which ones are the 30 mils and which ones are the 15 mils from where they're landing. Oh, I think I've overheated the 15s on the left and the 30 mil. Interesting. Okay, that's a little bit odd, but there you go. Agility is so-so. It's not bad, but it's not going to outturn... let's just go with like Griffin engine Spitfires are going to outturn this thing. That's probably about the era that we're looking at in terms of this aircraft. But what do you really expect? A lot of these twin-boom aircraft, especially pusher props, tend to struggle a little bit in the realm of absolute performance in terms of turning and also top speed, but obviously their benefits come in the sense that you can then armor up basically the entire front and put on a ludicrous amount of firepower, which this thing very much has made the most of that. Okay, leading in for a landing here. I'm imagining this thing's going to have quite a high stall speed. This engine is going to be really, really heavy, and compared to the amount of wing surface area we have, I can't imagine we'll stall much above probably a 180 odd is where we'll be stalling. So we'll have to be a little bit more careful than we were in the Spitfire-y thing. But it's quite a nice flight, this thing. It's pretty forgiving, even though it's not the most agile aircraft in the world. That's fine. You don't need to be the most agile aircraft in the world all the time, you know? Give it a little bit more throttle, so because we have a tricycle landing gear, not a tail dragger, we don't need to flare the aircraft quite as much. We can just come in for a relatively flat approach and just put it down, all gentle-like. We've got quite the crosswind here, so a little bit of an interesting angle to the runway, but that's nothing unheard of. Give it a little bit of flare, and first if we can do it. There we go, a little bit aggressive, a bit more flare than I necessarily wanted to give, but that's all good. We've made it, we've touched down, we're all safe, and Mr. Jimmy is going to be walking walking home without any serious accidents on his belt today. Well, maybe with the exception of the plane that we couldn't take off in, but that's fine. Thank you very much for watching. That's all for today. Sorry that we've had a couple that didn't really want to play ball, but I think most of all, I'm sorry for being a very sleepy boy. That's if you want to submit your own designs for future videos, you can join my Discord, which is linked in the description below. Once again, thank you for bearing with me while I move house. Things are, getting there now. We have the end of this month is in, so there's chances for me getting videos in like this one, but not stressing myself out with this. Appreciate your patience. Thank you very much for watching, and a goodbye.